Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WWE Payback review right here on the Freakin Media Network on YouTube. I'm Keila Cash, and by my side, as always, is my co-captain, my right hand, the sometimes advocate for the rapidly improving Von Wagner, bringing the rap to you via YouTube live as we recap the highs and lows of WWE Payback going down live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I bring to you, as always, on YouTube now, Perky Scott Young. Welcome back, Perky.
Thank you for having me, Keila. As always, it's a pleasure to chop it up and talk all things WWE. We are live. I'm excited. I'm perky, as you can tell, pumped up. I got my drink, got my drink. I'm ready to go. I got the U.S. title back here, repping Cena. Cena came back. I'm excited. It's going to be a great show.
I noticed the championship belt behind you, giving us throwback Cena from the year 2004. Classic belt, and it spins. And I have to say, in hindsight, the belt, it's all right.
Hey, look, you could have kept that off air. That you could have gave me that shot before we came on, after we went off. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I feel you though. I'm looking at it now, like, bruh. I mean, like we could have did something a little bit better than the spinners. Like we could have had at least something still spinning when it stops. You know what I mean? But he wasn't too much 3-6 Mafia.
Listen, he tried. He gave us 2-6 Mafia, okay? He gave us he did a
No,
little
you
bit.
didn't.
A little bit. Listen, for the time, Cena was an innovator with the spinner belt, but as I got older, both belts sucked. No offense to him. They were ugly. Triple H carrying a spinner, really? No.
Edge had the worst one though. Just the R. It wasn't even like a gold. It was just an R. Just an R. What does that mean, dude?
It was cheap and it was ugly and it lasted for like less than a month, so we were spared mostly. Jeez, talking about belts at the top of this show. But have to say that Payback, I will be honest in noting that it was like an extra episode of Raw and SmackDown that you would get free on USA and Fox, with the exception of two really strong matches that kind of pushed the show from all right to solid.
Yeah, this was absolutely a big Raw or SmackDown on steroids. But I will say, after the first match, I was like, man, we might be in for something special, because I knew we were going to have at least a couple other good to great matches. Well, it didn't turn out that way. It wasn't a bad show, but yeah, this wasn't what it could have been, especially with the hot start we got off to.
No, not at all. And if you're watching, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to interact in the chat on YouTube. Give us some great feedback regarding the show. Be interactive with us. We try to respond as we can during the broadcast. But I got to say, I had high hopes for this show after the first match, which blew away expectations. It was the final chapter between Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus inside of a steel cage. And the feud, I will admit, has overstayed its welcome in the last few weeks, but what a finale this was. Becky Lynch was exceptional. Trish Stratus, mother, ageless wonder, my girl from way back when. I've been ride or die for 23 freaking years on and off since my youth. And this woman at 48 years old delivered, dare I say, and I've seen them all just about, the finest performance of her career. And what I love about Trish Scott is the fact that she's not afraid to take the hits, take the bumps. She's willing to get messed up, sell her ass off, put on a show and deliver. And I thought that she did an exceptional job with Becky as they just went balls to the walls, had that crowd on their feet, clapping, popping, chanting, "This is awesome." They had them from start to finish, but my God, what a match. We'll get into the moves later, but your initial thoughts on this match and how it came together down the stretch.
Before I even talk about the match, let me just give WWE has incredible production teams and quality, because that video package that they played before the match made this feel like two generational talents, which they are, but it made it feel like the epic encounter that we ended up getting. When in reality, in hindsight, we both watched Raw weekly. it didn't feel like that leading up to it. And even the SummerSlam match and the matches they had didn't feel like these epic encounters. But that video package, it really set the tone. And then they came out. I thought Trish looked incredible. Her ring gear, everything about the entrances was great. Them inside the steel cage. And you talk about Trish taking the bumps. She took some nasty bumps in this match from the top of the cage, multiple bumps from the top rope. Her head had a huge whelp one from getting smashed into the cage. Let me tell you, I'm a Trish fan, but this match right here, anybody who slanders Trish Stratus, you get the hands off top. No questions asked. You just get the hands, because there will be no slander of her after this match. And I agree with you. This is probably her best outing she's ever had. This was one of the best WWE matches all year so far.
Oh, for sure. Like, I wish somebody would approach me and try to slander Mother Stratus. You're not going to do that. Okay. She has unlimited biscuits at Red Lobster at the table for life. Okay. You understand me? The rarest of exceptions at the table. That is Mother. You will put respect on thy name. She gave tribute to freaking Victoria with the Widow's Peak. Then Scott did the hair move. The hair move then made the cover.
She hit the mannerism when she sat down. She hit the mannerism. And shout out to Michael Cole for not only calling that, but then giving the call back to her and Lita being in the first cage match as well. Like, I thought Michael Cole during this match was fantastic. I thought he was very good. I thought he was spot on when he needed to be. And just little things like those calls right there, I thought it really added to the match.
It really did. And it reminded me those special matches that Trish and Victoria had back in 2002, the Chicago Street Fight. Those ladies went at it physically. They were ahead of their time in so many ways. I thought that was a lovely tribute. Like I said, the hair move like Trish, Queen. Then Becky comes through with the twist of fate in honor of Lita for that very same match. Like, Michael Cole was on the ball with the history lessons. We had a super bulldog off the top rope by Trish to Becky for a near fall. We had a superplex from Becky to Trish in a crazy spot as well. I'm like, my God, this was such an incredible match. The near falls were everything. I was living for the counters, the physicality, Trish's forehead, poor baby. I know she's going to post on the gram like what she went through in this match, but it really came down to the one and only Zoe Stark trying to help her girl out in the clutch, trying to get her through this match or pulling her through the front door, but it was to no avail, as Becky Lynch basically told her, get in the ring. I'm going to close this door. It's going to be 2-on-1. I got you. She took care of business, man. A slam to Zoe Stark. And then Trish was trying to escape the cage a few times. And when she was hanging by her legs outside the cage, that was insane. I'm like, Trish, girl, don't fall.
Man.
Dear God Almighty, do not fall.
I mean, she doesn't have to do any of this. She didn't have to do any of this. And normally spots like that don't really work, but I thought they did a good job. Becky hit the nice speed when she needed to. And you're talking about the bumps now. She took that. She took a superplex from the top of the cage. She took a manhandle. I mean, like, again, mad respect to Trish for coming back, having this run, putting over she's helped establish not only Becky Lynch as this generation's, the man of this generation, essentially, but let's not sleep on what she's done for Zoe Stark to just establish her with the masses and just kind of that crowd that's maybe not as in tune with NXT and other things like that. So we can't say enough about what she did in this match. It was incredible.
I mean, listen, Trish, the selling, she took the man slam off the top rope for the win. And then she got in Zoe Stark's face and told her, listen, you let me down. You failed the assignment. Get out of my face. Get out of this cage. And Zoe was trying to be the good person, be the bigger person, but it was to no avail. And then eventually, like the giver that Mother Stratus is, she took the flipping GTS, and then she sold it like a queen to get Zoe over. And I think her final adieu to us will be putting Zoe over because Trish Stratus is mother always. And shout out to Dan L, who says that Trish Becky match was an awesome one. Absolutely one of the better matches you'll see in WWE this year because my God, they left no crumbs.
Yeah, and the Mother Stratus name that you just came up with sounds like a Captain Marvel villain. So if we see that happening in the future, we know they heard it here on the wrap. Yeah, this again, one of the best matches. It wasn't quite Rhea Charlotte. It wasn't quite that. I think it was definitely on that Bianca Asuka level from WrestleMania. I'm gonna go a solid 4.5 tiers.
I'm going to go there too. 4.5 tiers out of 5. I thought this was an exceptional match. They had the crowd. I will say they had the crowd more so than Rhea and Charlotte in the beginning. They kind of came through WrestleMania down the stretch, but the body of this match, start to finish, was awesome. I tip my cap to both ladies. They should be proud of this match that they put together finally to wrap up this feud. And for Trish Stratus, this run, this match has shown me why I love her down forever because she really revolutionized women's wrestling. She was ahead of her time. There was no PR, there was no buzz, there were no buzzwords. She just went out there and did it alongside so many others like Victoria, Jazz, Lita, Molly Holly, Gail Kim, Mickey James, to name a few. Always innovating, always being ahead of the curve. And shout out to Fit freaking Finley too for just giving the ladies a chance, train them up because he got ridiculed. Like, you can't train them how to wrestle. He did. And look at the results. 23 years later, Trish, Mother Stratus, doing what she needed to do against the man, Becky Lynch.
Sounds like a superhero story right there. The man taking on Mother Stratus. And one other thing I do want to talk about before we move on with this match. Let's talk about Becky Lynch. Some of the builds in her feuds have not been the greatest. You know, the Bianca Belair feud wasn't the greatest of builds throughout it. But whenever we get to that climax, whenever we get to that final match where it's time for Becky Lynch to, really come through and put on really a damn near classic, something that will be talked about, she comes through every time. Those matches with Bianca when they were given time, that WrestleMania match, those are great matches. Not good, great matches. This match right here, a great match. Those matches she was having with Charlotte and with great matches. So, I do want to acknowledge that when Becky Lynch, it's time to have that final climax, regardless of whatever has happened before that, she's always put forth a great match. Not a good match, a great match.
Facts. And I just thought about the Hell in a Cell match against Sasha Banks about 4 years ago. Prime example. Listen, the feuds might not be perfect, but the finales, Becky Lynch is a closer in the very sense of that word. She closes feuds like a boss, and she did so against Trish at Payback last night, and I thought that she absolutely killed it. Trish as well. So all in all, I thought we were going to be heading into one of the better shows of the year by WWE. Historically, cold Pittsburgh crowd was hot for this match. As we segue to the host of Payback, he found out on Friday Night SmackDown, I'm hosting. See, that's what happens when two strikes happen. We have the greatest of all time, according to Mike Rome, John Cena coming out, and he's very happy to be here, but he wants more responsibilities. He wants to be the special guest referee for a match, and that leads to the Miz coming out to say, "How dare you pander to these people? How dare you try to hog the spotlight for my match against LA Knight?" And we have this cute back and forth exchange between the two, between Cena and the Miz, because their history dates back way back when. And this does lead to Cena being named the special guest referee. Happen to have a referee jersey on standby, puts it on as LNA comes out. And I have to give a shout out to the WWE production crew and camera people. Like, they're here for the LA Knight pops. Like, they shoot to that crowd when that music hits as if he's The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he comes out there with the great reception. Now, he's not them, Let's not get it twisted. But he does have that charisma and that presence to get pops that very few can get in WWE. And I thought this match was a nice Monday Night Raw television match. I thought it went a little bit too long for this show, kind of cooled the crowd down a bit, but ultimately, this was LA Knight's opportunity to show himself up against The Miz, who is a Grand Slam champion 2 times over, done it all in WWE, and he's a giver at this point as well. So I thought it was a good match, not great, but I gotta say for John Cena, with all due respect to your career and your accolades and your acting in Hollywood, your cadence when it came to pinfall, sir, you are a slow counting person, sir. You can't count for Jack, you know what.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think you could count, John. Let me just throw that out. I think you can count. Okay. I know you could get to 3. Okay. I've seen you count to 10. I've seen some of those last man standing matches. Listen, the promo exchange was fine. I would have been way more intrigued if it was between LA Knight and John Cena. Like I was way more intrigued in the post-match shenanigans with LA Knight and John Cena face to face than I was with anything in the match. Like you said, Keila, the match was fine. It was about 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes too long. 9, 10. I just thought LA Knight should have. I mean, seriously, like LA Knight should have just blitzed right through him. Okay, Miz should have got a couple good spots in. I like the DDT roll through that he's adopted into his moveset. That's cool. But like, you don't like everything doesn't have to be this long classic or this great match. Everything doesn't have to be a great match. As long as it's furthering or advancing a story, like it's okay if this pay-per-view didn't have to be 3.5 hours. Just saying. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have 3.5 hours, like this should have been a 6-7 minute match. LA Knight looks dominant running through him. Instead, it's a 20-minute match where the Miz just lost to Akira Tozawa 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. There are different ways you can do some of this stuff.
Very true. Shout out to Dan once again. He says, I was a Cena mark tonight wearing my Cena shirt and all. He definitely made it entertaining. He did. And listen, I shout out John Cena again. He gave us Southpaw Regional Wrestling backstage when we'll get to our new undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. So I'm going to enjoy Cena for the time we have him on our TV screens, but he is probably the slowest referee I've ever seen in my life. His cadence was bad. Listen, Scott, don't give me that face. You know I'm not lying. That dude was taking his sweet ass time with the counts.
Listen, he's a big man. So, it takes a while for them arms to go up and down. So you gotta give him a little extra time. I don't think it's because he can't get there.
Excuse me? Really? That's your best answer?
Listen, that's all I got. I know how good of friends Rey Mysterio is with John Cena. So I don't need nothing happening to us while we're live. No booyaka's here.
Well, you know what?
Mysterio.
But let me tell you, that transition actually is very impressive, which gets us to our next match on the card, which happens to be the one and only Rey Mysterio, the reigning defending United States champion versus A-Town Down, Austin Theory. Now, this is also another Friday Night SmackDown special that was on Payback. It was just fine. You know how I feel about Theory. He's a guy. He beat John Cena at WrestleMania, and John Cena was a prophet. It did him no good. He won, and what? This match was all right. When will the real Austin Theory stand up? Asking for many friends.
This did the same thing that Miz and LA Knight could have done in a third of the time. This is exactly what that could have been. Again, this didn't need to happen. This was a random SmackDown match. It was there. 2.25 tiers for LA Knight and the Miz. 2.25 tiers for this match too. And again, this was done in a third of the time. Nothing to really talk about with the match.
No, we had a DDT on the floor by Rey to Austin Theory.
That's cool.
It existed. It was a moment of time when Theory had his advantages and a nice spin out power bomb on Ray for a near fall. Ray goes for the 619, gets blocked a couple of times by Austin Theory. Then Theory gets hit with the 619. Ray goes for the splash, but then Theory gets his knees up, goes for A-Town down, but then Ray just rolls him up for the win to retain the United States Championship as if it's a Friday Night SmackDown somewhere in America. And then we have the LWO celebrate with Ray. And I'm still waiting for the moment when Santos Escobar flips on one Rey Mysterio, as Scott has done right now, giving the Batista thumbs down as the LWO comes tumbling down. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I do expect Santos and Ray to have a great rivalry, and then Santos will eventually become the new United States champion. I'm glad for this match. No shenanigans of a turn yet, but we know at some point very soon it's coming.
And I would like to talk about one other thing I found very interesting during this match. This was a Cinnamon Toast Crunch match. And the banners on the outside were absolutely giving me Rugrat title screen vibes. The little screens that da-da, doo, 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 they got, that is what that little Cinnamon Toast Crunch banners in the background. I was flabbergasted when I looked. I was like, yo, is somebody going to get dumped in a bowl of milk? Is there like a bowl of milk somewhere that Austin Theory is going to get dumped in? Like that was and then I saw the little logo at the bottom. I was really caught off guard by the Cinnamon Toast Crunch thing. I must have missed Michael Cole talking about that.
I did not expect a Cinnamon Toast sponsorship match. It came out of nowhere. That WrestleMania, that hyped it up, and it was like it could be a bowl of cereal involved at some point. It could be like a vat by the stage. And I'm still waiting for that because we workshopped this on the wrap before, Scott. Like, if they did do this match, I want this gigantic bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and somebody to fall in said bowl and swim in it.
Wasn't it a Rey Mysterio match?
I think it was. Was it Ray and Dom Dom? Was that a Cinnamon Toast Crunch match?
I think that was the Cinnamon Toast Crunch match. So clearly Rey Mysterio has a sponsorship with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or they're trying to get him on the box or something. Something's going on with Rey Mysterio with Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I think it's legit because remember they did a commercial a few months ago and it was Rhea and Dom eating the cereal and it was eating it up and they saw Ray on the box and said, F this box.
I'm telling you, man. Ray said, y'all ain't got, don't worry. I got all these little spots. Hey, Triple H, come talk to these Cinnamon Toast Crunch people. Let's get them on the show. Yeah, go ahead. Getting him a little side check. You ain't slick, Ray. I see you getting that paper.
Between the Victoria Beer and the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Ray is a sponsorship mogul. He has 2 bags. I'm not mad at him. So we now know that when there's a Ray match, Cinnamon Toast Crunch by General Mills is not far behind. Okay.
Especially now that he's champ. They're like, oh yeah, he represents all the United States. We got to get him some Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Wheaties could never, I'm just saying, as we segue to our next match on the card, which is, I'm trying to be bold here because I'm so torn between the first match and this match because that one was awesome because this was insanity. So we got the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, my guys, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against the Judgment Day, Finn Bálor and Damian Priest, Mr. Money in the Bank, Senor Money in the Bank, and a Steel City street fight. I'm going to be bold. Yeah, my favorite match of the night. Now, this is the match that Terry Funk from heaven is like, this is my jam. I don't know what they did for me on SmackDown last week. That was not hardcore. This was hardcore because Kevin freaking Owens is out of his flipping mind doing something absolutely positively insane. But before we get to that, we got to talk about our intermission, Scott. So it's a fun match. We got trash cans. We got chairs. It's action through the crowd and whatnot. Dom gets involved in the midst of this match. And then Kevin and Sami go over the barricade. And then in a great, amazing spot. And Kevin Owens, you sneaky little thing, this is what you did. You cut yourself, didn't you? You bladed in the cut because you magically appeared and you had the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey jerseys on. Kevin's covered in blood. They jump over, they got the hockey sticks out, and they're whooping ass. I loved this so much. It was awesome, but it set up the spot of the match. But I thought that was so clever, so cool. Kevin, you sneaky, you got away with it, but I love you.
Shout out to Dally Pool from Belfast, Ireland. Thank you for dropping in on the stream. Listen, I'm glad you brought that spot up because it brought back really good memories of one of my favorite movies, The Mighty Ducks. Because let me tell you, when Sami and KO emerged with them jerseys on, they look like the Bash Brothers getting ready to come out the penalty box and start laying people out during the flying V. Okay, I got excited. That was cool. I was wondering what happened to Kevin Owens. He all of a sudden got blood running down his face, looking like Jason without the mask. Okay, like I was like, what is going on? But the match was absolutely insane. So physical. The physicality was off the charts. They were doing crazy stuff. When I saw Kevin Owens at the top of the balcony, my first thought was, please do a frog splash. Why would he do it? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Instead, he did a freaking swanton. It looked like landed. I mean, these guys are nuts. Great tag team match. This is when I thought, okay, everything's about to pick back up. We're about to be in for the home stretch, and it's going to be great. This was a really fun match.
Yes, and shout out to our guy, Grandpa Des, coming through from the Dynamite show from In the Clinch, part of the Fight Game Media family, saying legit one of the best WWE matches of the year. I have to agree because Kevin Owens and Sami, they never miss, and Finn Balor and Damian Priest are right there. And Kevin is freaking insane. Swanton bomb off the freaking railing to Dominic Mysterio. Absolutely sick. Also, shout out to Dan L. He says that tag match raised the bar for everyone that had to follow. It really did. Like, this was the match that was like, top this. Trish, Becky handle things first. They handle things second. And after that, we could have ended the show. Real talk. And I want to follow up on Grandpa Daz real quick, saying it's nice to know that there can be a hardcore war without everyone tearing their bodies to shreds and bleeding buckets. That is very true. The nuance of this match, Kevin gave the Funk tribute, and I love that for him. I truly do. And I thought this match was exceptional. We had interference galore, though. This was just interference everywhere from JD McDonough down the stretch, breaking up the pin when KO and Sami had Judgment Day beat. Rhea Ripley, who had a match, by the way, decided, you know what? I got time. I got time tonight to spear Kevin Owens to the barricade. And that left Sami Zayn all alone. And he was fighting off Finn so hard. Had the match won, haluva kick. And then that damn dirty Dominic Mysterio comes through with Damian Priest's Money in the Bank briefcase, whack-a-mo's Sami, and then Finn with just this finesse cover of the arm to get the pin and the win, to get the shock victory of becoming the new undisputed WWE Tag Team Champs. Judgment Day holds all the gold in WWE.
It was definitely a good match. I was surprised by the outcome. For me, this felt like, kind of three different kind of hard. The first part of the match felt like a chairs match. Everybody was just getting smacked around with chairs. Who can hit each other the hardest with a chair? Everybody's just getting smacked with chairs. Then it felt like a Falls Count Anywhere match. Everybody's just floating around everywhere outside the ring. Then the end felt like a 4-on-2 handicap match for the tag titles because good Lord. I mean, I don't even know how Kevin Owens got up from the swanton. He comes running in the ring, throws a stunner, and like you said, Rhea Ripley, she's got a title match, comes out of nowhere. And let me tell you, the sinister little laugh she gave as she's writhing in pain, sitting next to KO, and she's just looking at him like, I got you. Like, I love it. Absolutely love it. Listen, man. People were talking about, we just talked about last week, are people getting sick of Judgment Day? Well, if you're getting sick of them, let me tell you something. You're about to get another dose of them. Okay. Tag champs, North American champ, the women's champion of the, I mean, they're doing it. They are the Raw group going into the fall season. Fantastic match. I'm gonna give this 4.5 tiers as well. I think it's right on par with the Trish Becky match. They're completely different, but I think they're both great matches in their own right. And honestly, it's a coin flip as to which one was better for me.
Agreed. I'm kind of torn, but to me, this is my favorite match of the night. The crowd was absolutely into it. They were popping for everything. The interference was a lot, but hey, there's no rules in a street fight. So you can do whatever you want to do. Cheat to win. I don't care. But I was very surprised by the outcome. But it opens a window to our next segment that I think will set the stage for Survivor Series in Chicago in November if they bring back War Games. And because of this, they blew up my idea of what we thought was going to happen. But WWE, being sneaky, had a surprise for us. So we have a very special edition of the Grayson Waller Effect with Grayson Waller with extra special guest, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, looking like Deacon Rhodes with his suit on last night. Deacon Rhodes coming
What you
out.
think he took Devon's own gimmick? I'm surprised he didn't have a briefcase with him.
Listen, I was supposed to have a collection plate. Come on now. Let me get my ties in.
That was in the back. That was handed around in the back. Okay. He didn't bring that out to the audience yet.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. But let's just get to the segment, shall we? So we have something very interesting going on. Grayson Waller shading Cody throughout this segment, I should say, saying it's about me. You know, it's a privilege for you to be on my show. They don't care what you have to say. They hear from me using my platform to get the rub. And Cody's like, well, yeah, we could do the old fashioned thing with these kind of talk show segments. We can do a fight. We can mess up these trees. I can give you a crossroads. Do you want that, Pittsburgh? Of course they do. And Grayson Waller's trying to keep the peace, wants to be a professional interviewer and whatnot. So we get to Cody making this big announcement. And I thought to myself, what could this possibly be? He's talking about Monday Night Raw. He's talking about NXT. Then he gets to Friday Night SmackDown. And I'm like, oh, is Cody possibly moving to SmackDown to finish his story? But oh no, there's more. So he made some maneuvers. He did some backstage politicking. He put his chips in to make quite possibly the acquisition of the year for Monday Night Raw. He has main event Jey Uso moving to Monday Night Raw, and Jay comes out to a remix of the Usos theme song. He is the lead Uso now coming out. He gets a huge pop from the Pittsburgh crowd, and he hopes he doesn't regret this decision as Cody and Jay share a glance at each other. And Jay gets in the ring, and Grayson is like offended that this guy is upstaging me on my own show. And then in the funny part that Dan is alluding to, oh yes, Jey Uso quit for 2 weeks, as Grayson said, and he gets a huge pop. And Grayson said that, and he was going on and on about how Jay, was gone for a couple of weeks and how he's nothing without the bloodline, and now he's on Monday Night Raw, and he gets super kicked for his efforts by Jay, who doesn't say a word during this segment, but he's over nonetheless. And this is an interesting thing here. Like, we are severing the bloodline away from each other for now. Jay is now on Monday Night Raw on his own. And I do believe I have a theory I tweeted out earlier, but I do want Scott's take on this before I drop that theory.
This was a good segment. I think Grayson Waller did really well here, from cutting Cody off right at the right moment. They're like, we don't really care what Pittsburgh wants to talk about, stuff like that. I thought his best line, though, was when he said, I'm not going to fight you. I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to fight in front of my plants. I'm a gentleman. I don't do that. I thought he was spot on all night. He was great. And the sea of people, when Jey Uso was throwing his hands up, doing the up down, I mean, that was an incredible sight to see. I think he's going to be a great babyface. And Cody talking about he might regret it. Boy, you better be careful before he sneak up on you and take that number one babyface spot. Okay, because let me tell you, Jey Uso has a lot of momentum going right now. That crowd is waving with him. I thought the segment came off really well for Jey Uso. Didn't have to say nothing, so we still have that to look forward to. Um, a potential Jey Uso Gunther match could be extremely fun going after the IC
Mm.
title. I just think him as a babyface, completely separated from Jimmy. You keep them separated, so now we can save that match. I like this move a lot. Even a potential Rollins Jey Uso match is intriguing because you know those are two guys who essentially can kind of have Roman's number a little bit. So whoever wins that match, there's a lot to it. So I really like the Jey Uso move, and I'm excited to see what he does.
I love the singles match possibilities for main Avenger Uso on Monday Night Raw. This is a huge opportunity for him to branch out away from the bloodline to be his own star for a change. And I think I love the idea of Gunther versus Jay versus Seth. Cody, yeah, your spot is being challenged right now, I gotta say, but he survived Sami Zayn earlier this year, and I think he can coexist with Jey Uso at the exact same time, which leads me to my bold prediction. Because a few weeks ago on the wrap, we suggested that if we do have war games at Survivor Series in Chicago, it would be the Bloodline versus a combo of Sammy, Kevin, Cody, maybe Jay. Forget the bloodline because apparently the new dominant faction in WWE is the Judgment Day. So, my new theory as to why Jay got moved to Monday Night Raw to make it make sense is to have the Judgment Day if they throw in JD McDonough as an honorary member to the crew against Sammy, KO, Cody, and Jay, with Jay reuniting with Sammy to make the reunion make sense.
Yeah, and I think that would be the perfect spot to also Damian Priest to get his exit out of the Judgment Day. You can have them lose the match, Jey Uso and then Sammy and all them stand tall, and maybe Damian's the one who ends up taking the pin. They beat him down afterwards, but I think what you just laid out is going to be the foundation of Survivor Series, and I think Cody kind of laid those seeds when he talked about, I hope I don't regret this because they're going to work together. Sammy's going to have an interaction with Jay saying, hey, I need your help against the Judgment Day. Like these are what I'm talking about when I say like there's so many intriguing possibilities when it comes to Jey Uso on Raw. I'm really excited. And I think Keila, what you laid out, I think that's exactly what we're getting.
I think so too. It explains the move perfectly without violating the rules of the draft, even though it's been violated since basically the draft ended in early May. But that's my prediction. I think it's going to happen. You need a great hook for Survivor Series. The show's already sold out, so you're not worried about ticket sales at this point. Just give us a marquee match, and we're good to go. And it gives the Bloodline a breather, and it gets Jay in the main event spot, independent of his cousin, his brother, and his other brother Solo and Paul Heyman. He's a part of a different group this time around, and the Judgment Day can submit themselves as the go-to faction in WWE. And as you said earlier, I know there's been a lot of Judgment Day in the main event of Monday Night Raw and holding all the gold right now. That might continue indefinitely. But I do think with some variety, this can still give this crew longevity. But you have to shake up the main event scene in that main event spot on Monday Night Raw because it can get stagnant, especially during the start of football season next Monday, because it's going to be a rough stretch until mid-January when the playoffs are over, especially with the college championships on ESPN as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of why they got they're heating up the Judgment Day as much as they can. There's only so much you can do with Seth, and it's, you are getting low. And this is, I know we got to talk about other stuff, but this is when like a guy like Bronson Reed just shouldn't be taking random L's on Monday Night Raw. Like this is just why he shouldn't be doing that, because he's somebody who could be built up to go after Seth. Like you don't have a lot of people, especially when 3 of your top heels on the brand are in the same group and all now have gold. So, you know, It's going to be very important to see what they do. And that's why I think what you laid out, that storyline thread of Sami and KO reaching out for help and seeing if Cody and Jay are the guys. I think that's just going to be what they hope is going to keep people hooked and intrigued to get them to Survivor Series.
Yes, telling a story independent of the bloodline and see if Jay can carry along the way. That is going to be a big question. I think he will. Got a great pop tonight. We'll see how that goes as he makes that transition to Monday Night Raw starting this week as we head into the Labor Day holiday. As we move on to our semi-main event of the evening, it is the Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. And I'm going to be real, it was kind of cold for me. The crowd was so. I have seen Rhea and Raquel have great matches on NXT. Their match at Halloween Havoc back in 2020, exceptional. Their last woman standing match in New Year's Evil nearly 4 years ago was pretty good as well. This match was all right. Crowd was kind of cold. I think the crowd does not have a legit connection with Raquel just yet. Yes, she's a hoss, but she doesn't have a personality. There's nothing that stands out about her. She's not on the level of a Bianca Belair or Charlotte Flair to give Rhea that true threat of a presence that can beat her for this championship. And Rhea is a star for days, can carry anything. But for me, this was probably one of her weaker title defenses, and the crowd was so during it. And I don't blame the crowd because at the same time, there's not a connective tissue with Raquel Rodriguez in terms of why should we root for her? Why should we care about her in this match? Why should we care if she wins? There's no why or motivation as to why that happened.
I think you lay out you bring up a good point about, there's no connection with Raquel. And there was a natural story here of her kind of fighting her way to mommy, essentially. And I think the story could have been that Rhea didn't want to face her. And I really feel like you could have dragged that out and just having Rhea cost Raquel matches to get number one contendership and having, facing other people and just dominating them, but never wanted to go after Raquel. Like, this match happened way too soon because the whole thing should have been her going after revenge for Liv and then going after revenge for taking out her knee. And that was never really the story. It was just kind of Raquel going after the title, being the challenger of the month, when you could have built this up to be so much more. Like, she should have been that one thing that Rhea's like just hesitant about. Rhea's been we just watched her spear Kevin Owens to a barricade. And like, she didn't show any fear to Raquel. And that should have been the one thing, just the hesitation. That's a story that you tell with Raquel. And that puts over Raquel. It makes her come across as more of a threat that Rhea's like, let me take a minute. Let me not just go at you like I do everybody else and just bum rush you. I think there was a missed opportunity with that story with Raquel to just put her over more. And honestly, this match shouldn't have happened at a Payback. This is a bigger match than that and should have been built up. Raquel should be running through people at the same time. This is where squash matches come in handy. She should be running through everyone put in front of her, and Rhea should be dodging her at every chance. And you build to this match instead of just giving us this and trying to have a classic when the story's not there. And, the crowd wasn't ready for it. So, yeah, I think what you said was right because they didn't have a reason to be connected when the story was right there to tell.
And they dropped the ball. And it's unfortunate. We've seen this on NXT and it was better. And this was just on the main roster. And I know both ladies can deliver in a big way, but it kind of fell short for me. Shout out to Dan once again, saying, I'm glad mommy won. This wasn't a good match, though, for them. I felt like they took some stiff shots on each other. They did because Rhea's nose was bleeding during this match. There were some stiff shots and they go stiff. I'm not going to lie. I love the physicality. But as Scott said, where's the story? Yeah, they were friends in NXT. Where's the story? Where's the journey of Raquel running through people and to say, I am the one you need to get through next. I am the one standing in front of you. I am the one that basically sent you out of NXT nearly 4 years ago, sending you on your WrestleMania journey that you thought you was going to have that year. That was Raquel. That was the move she made. And for me, it just felt like it was just there. And that's disappointing because I know they can deliver better than what we got last night. And I don't blame the crowd because Raquel surface level, smiles a lot, and there's nothing else there. And I know there's something there because we've seen it before, but since her transition to main roster, it's been stripped away.
Yeah, and before the match, Michael Cole, was transitioning to the video package and was like, for those Peacock Premium people. So thank goodness I paid my 99 cents a month so I could be a Peacock Premium guy. They gave us the video package, and it was just like, yeah, I talked about the video package with Becky Lynch and Trish and how that just gave us an epic feel, and it just made this feel like an epic encounter. This just felt like a video package for the challenger of the month. And the story, like, they had two separate stories that they tried to tell, and even they tried to tell the knee story in the match, and I don't know. It's definitely a Randy Jackson for me. It was two 2 3/4, because I thought they got a little bit of momentum going towards the end, but again, this didn't need to be. I don't know how long it was. It felt like it was 15 minutes. It didn't need it. You could have taken 5 minutes off and you would have got the same effect of the match. So 2.5 tiers for me on this one.
Yeah, 2.5 tiers for me too. It felt really long. It might have been 15 minutes, but it wasn't worthy of 15 minutes because the story simply wasn't there to justify it. And I just feel for both ladies. Of course, Dirty Dom gets involved at the end, helping Mommy retain the championship. Dom, you had a very busy night, sir. You was involved in one match, get your hands in another one, and then Rhea hits Riptide on Raquel for the win. So my next focus is who's next. And there are two people I want to see Rhea face. And this goes back to last year. Let me say it again. Last year, when Becky and Rhea locked eyes and they just stared at each other for 2 minutes on a Monday Night Raw, and I was hooked. So you can give me that match between now and early next year. And of course, the one match they keep avoiding for reasons, Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. When are you going to inject that in my veins so we can get the match I really want to see before the turn of the 22nd century?
I think those are the two biggest matches, but I'm gonna tell you what match they're probably gonna go with, and there is a story there. Because I think Bianca's got Charlotte Flair in her sight. I think that's got to be her WrestleMania match. That's got to be in the cards. It's got to happen sooner than later. Rhea versus Becky, that's absolutely something that can happen. But I think her next big match is going to be a Liv Morgan return. I don't know when that happens, but that's going to be her next big match, is going to be that Liv Morgan return. But yeah, the Becky match is something to think about, because that's a WrestleMania caliber match. Royal Rumble at the very earliest, if you even do it there. So yeah, that's a good one. But I think Liv Morgan is going to be her next big feud. We are, and maybe, you know what, Keila? Maybe you'll finally get your answer. Maybe Rhea's the one who finally figures out why all of a sudden Liv just loves pain and wants to jump through tables all the time.
You know what, Scott? Don't rub that in my face. We're going on 1 year next month of my girl Liv not telling me why she went hardcore. I have not gotten a satisfactory answer. I never will at this point. I've given up. But I'm going to be brazen enough to say the following. I think that Liv and Rhea will have a better match than Rhea and Raquel did, because I think that Liv and Rhea can bring out a bit more in terms of emotion and energy and fire and chemistry. I will say that.
And I agree with you, because I think, this just goes to Rhea Ripley in particular. I think she works better, especially as that dominant force, when she's going against a smaller opponent that can kind of move around a lot. And obviously, Rhea can keep up with anybody, but a smaller opponent who can move, bounce all the ropes, catch Rhea with some counters and stuff like that, and who can build that sympathy. That's why the match with Zelina Vega works so well. She can move really well. She can counter very well. She can build that sympathy as a smaller wrestler. That's what Liv Morgan has. I know a lot of people don't really like Liv Morgan as far as like on the internet and stuff, but Liv Morgan absolutely has a connection with the audience, and she can build that sympathy. She can bounce around. She's a decent enough wrestler, and Rhea's a really good wrestler, where they absolutely can have a good to great match.
Agreed. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be the next feud for Rhea Ripley heading into the fall. But all in all, a so-so match from a girl. She retains the championship. Nice effort, but the crowd was kind of cold, which I understand, because Raquel still got to find a sea legs in the main roster nearly a year in, as we now move to our main event of the evening. It is for the World Heavyweight Championship. It is the one and only Seth freaking Rollins versus the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura. And I have to say, the build for this match has been excellent because Shinsuke Nakamura has gone in his subtitles bag, sitting down, training, and telling the story of Seth Rollins' very bad back and how he has a bad back. He's going to target said back. He's going to make sure that Seth cannot play with his daughter, cannot be a good husband. He's going to break this man at Payback. And I thought the vignettes leading into this match were outstanding. I thought the story was right there. This was a big test for Shin, his first main event for a WWE PLE in his entire time in WWE, which is something unless you don't count NXT. I count NXT, doggone it. He was main eventing there during his time, during classic black and gold era of NXT. But this was also, if you put this on a Monday Night Raw in the main event spot, it was solid. It wasn't a great match, but it was a good match. It was methodical in nature, I will say. It was something that told a story regarding the back of Seth Rollins, and Shinsuke Nakamura massaging the back early on, just testing it was a nice touch as well. But overall, nice story, but it was so-so at the end of the night.
Before I get into the match, I gotta call out Corey Graves for something real quick. So they got to a spot, it's deep in the match, and I probably enjoyed the match more than most. I really like how Shinsuke targeted the back the entire time. I liked how most of his offense was all about the back, a lot of little kicks to the back, the slams, the splat, and all that, the Kinshasa to the back of the neck. But Corey Graves, when Seth Rollins was going for the Falcon with a superplex into the Falcon Arrow from the top rope, then changed his mind and went to the Hurricane Rana. He almost had it right when he said that, Seth Rollins changed because he wanted to make the most of the impact land on his knees. Well, he landed on his back with his feet landing. So I don't know how he took that on his knees. What the should have said was, what that should have been was, instead of Seth Rollins raising up on the top rope, coming down flat on his back into a superplex, and then deadlifting after a roll through onto that injured back into a Falcon Arrow, where you're bringing all that pressure down on your tailbone and spine. He just decides to hit a high impact move with the Hurricane Rana, where his feet can land first and take a brunt of that impact. It's right there, dude. You've been it's right. I mean, come on, man. Michael Cole is over there working his tail off. I thought Michael Cole was excellent during this match as well. And you got Corey Graves saying stuff like that. And you can tell he was like, God dang it, what am I talking about? Because he said it again. So that just threw me all off. I was like, Corey, come on, man. I liked the match more than most. I thought they told a good story with Shinsuke targeting the back. I think Shinsuke should have kicked out of that first curb stomp. I don't know why he couldn't have got a kick out there. Then Seth Rollins just hits another one. But, then again, I appreciate them not kicking out a lot of finishers. Seth Rollins never kicked out of Shinsuke's finisher. He just stayed down. Instead of Shinsuke going for the pin, he went for a second one. So there's a little bit there, a little bit of protection there. But, yeah, all in all, this definitely wasn't the best match of the night, but I probably liked it more. I think I give it 4 1/4 tears.
Oh, you are very generous with your tears. I would say 3 3/4 tears for me. 3 3/4 tears for me for this match. It was solid. It wasn't great. It was good. Dan notes main event was very methodical. I was waiting for a priest cash in, though I will agree with you there, Dan, because I thought the Seth's back was prime for a cash in by Priest, but they held off on it for right now. If he can stand up, I guess he can sustain another night as champion. I will say that Seth, during this match, delivered one of the prettiest frog splashes you will ever see this side of WWE. Beautiful extension on the landing for a near fall on Shinsuke Nakamura, lands a pedigree as well for a near fall. And at one point, Shinsuke Nakamura lands the Kinshasa. I'm thinking, oh, possible title change. Great Muta flew over here to see his guy at ringside. He wasn't going to win, but nice tease nonetheless of that possibility. We have Shingo for the Kinshasa once again, but Seth doesn't get up for it. He's like, oh, get your ass up, trying to kick him up, trying to do strikes and slaps and stuff. But Seth fights back, roast brew, and then counters a counter with the curb stomp, stomps out Nakamura's hopes and dreams of being World Heavyweight Champion. Seth Rollins retains the title, and then he stands tall barely to end the night with our video package replaying the reels of the highs and lows of Payback. And Shinsuke Nakamura was very magnanimous. He didn't jump him from behind after the match was over. He just stood at ringside reflecting on this loss. So maybe he's still a babyface after failing to win the championship, failing to get in Rollins' head, and failing to win the championship at the end of the night.
Yeah, and we'll be curious to see where they go with Nakamura next. I kind of like this a little bit more sinister side. I hope he doesn't, go straight back, babyface. I don't. He doesn't necessarily have to be a heel, but I like this more vicious side where he's just kind of attacking people, not attacking, but attacking, body parts and going after him in the matches. So I like that. I hope they keep that. But I mean, where do you go with him? What babyface do you have on the roster that you're like, all right, let's pair you two for a little bit, I mean, Ricochet's not doing nothing. That's a nice matchup that you could have, but are they going to give him the time to do it? So, and then same thing with Seth Rollins. Like, who do you have to work with? Like Jey Uso, do you want to go to that right away? Because somebody's got to take a L. We know we're not going to do Cody Rhodes. So it's a very interesting time on Monday Night Raw. A time for somebody to step up, and this is it for Monday Night Raw. I mean, you need challengers. You need top tier heels. So if there's a heel out there who's ready to take the ball and run with it, now is the time.
Yes, I have heel in mind whenever he's ready to turn. Drew McIntyre, please beat up Matt Riddle post haste to give me Rollins and McIntyre sometime very soon. Because let me remind the people, during the very early days of the pandemic era, one of the best matches you'll see anywhere with nobody there was Seth and Drew McIntyre for that championship. And I want that for both guys in an arena full of people. And at some point, for God's sakes, coronate Drew McIntyre with the championship. This man was deprived during the pandemic era. Heel or face, give that man a championship in front of the people. That's all that I ask.
Yeah, him and this time Matt Riddle won't be as fortunate with his tag team partner as he was with Randy Orton. Let's just put it that way. He absolutely has a Claymore ready to explode in his face. Okay? And there won't be any cameras watching when that happens.
Listen, we loved RK Bro. We didn't want the turn. We was praying against it. In this case, I want Drew McIntyre to Claymore Matt Riddle's face clean off and send it into orbit.
Mm-hmm. It'd be great.
Please.
And they'll have a great match. I think they'll have a great match. I think Riddle will show great fire against him, be able to fire up great, and Drew McIntyre would just be able to bully him around. I think it'll be a great match.
Agreed. And that'll be the next setup guy for Seth Rollins. If you want a big dominating heel, there you go, right there with Drew McIntyre very, very soon. And with that, this wraps up the Payback review right here on YouTube. But before we go, I want the final score on a scale from 1 to 10 of our tiers for Payback for Scott. Your final score for Payback going down live in Pittsburgh, PA, the Steel City.
I mean, you had three. I thought you had three really good matches, two great matches, or one really good match, two great matches, and then you just had some SmackDown and Raw matches mixed in there. So I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
I'm gonna say the two matches we got, Mother Stratus and Becky Lynch. I'm gonna keep saying Mother Stratus.
Stratus versus the man to see who's in control of Metropolis at the end of it.
I love it. Very superhero-esque. So between that match and, of course, Steel City Street Fight between KO and Sami versus Judgment Day, because of how great those matches were, I'm going to give this show a 6 out of 10 for the tiers, because those two matches carried the show. If it wasn't for those two, very average PLE by WWE. I'm going to go on a limb and say right now, this is probably the weakest show WWE has done all year, but does not mean it was a bad show. It was a good show, but we've seen stronger from Backlash, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, the Big Four. This was just in the middle for me. Not bad, not good, just the Randy Jackson.
Yeah, well, at least we got some matches we'll be talking about. We absolutely have a contender for a women's match of the year and a tag team match of the year. So, like you said, we got some great matches on a very average show.
Yes, and this wraps up a not average edition of the wrap right here on YouTube. I'm glad that those that tuned in enjoyed our review of WWE Payback. We'll be back in a few weeks covering NXT No Mercy going down in Bakersfield, California. But you can catch us every Monday via the Freakin Media Network Plus on Patreon. Please sign up today. You see it on your screen, patreon.com/Fight Game Media, $5 a month to hear us and everybody a part of the Fight Game Media family, giving you great content as Scott, my co-captain, my captain, spinning the legendary U.S. Championship belt by one Jonathan Felix Cena. And yes, the whole governments,
whoa.
all the
my
governments
goodness.
sure did. Dropped all the government names for Jonathan.
Oh man, shout out to Felix. For you, Felix. For you. They don't stop.
Oh no. Listen, do not start rapping, okay? From the Thugonomics album. Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
No. You won't get no trademark from me.
All right, just checking. So we'll be back next Monday morning on the regular feed on Patreon, recapping the week that was for WWE. Tune in, drop that 5 and/or 10 at your leisure. Until then, enjoy the week ahead, enjoy Labor Day, enjoy everything from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, everything in between. For myself and for Perky Scott Young, that is a wrap for WWE Payback 2023. Take care and bye-bye.